First contact facade. The Krylonian survey vessel, Eternal Radiance, hung in the void like a polished crystal, its bioorganic hull pulsing with streams of bioluminescent energy. High Commander Zalura Vek watched the approaching human ship through compound eyes that could perceive 12 different spectral ranges. By any measure visible to her advanced sensors, the vessel ahead was almost insultingly primitive. Preliminary scan complete, High Commander, reported Science Officer Kirix, his telepathic voice tinged with derision. Hull composition appears to be basic titanium alloys with ceramic plating. Power signature suggests rudimentary fusion drive. No quantum shielding detected. No signs of FTL capability. Threat assessment. Negligible. Zalura's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. After 3 centuries of uplifting primitive species into the Krylonian Empire's protection, she had learned to trust her instincts. Something about this encounter felt different. Launch probe drones, she ordered. Full spectrum analysis. The human vessel, designated HSV Horizon according to its hull markings, maintained its steady course. It was ungainly by Krylonian standards. All sharp angles and exposed structural supports rather than the elegant bioorganic curves that marked truly advanced engineering. Its size suggested a colony ship, though its design was unlike any they'd encountered before. High Commander, Kyrix's mental voice carried a note of confusion. The probe drones are reporting unusual readings. The hull seems to be absorbing our scanning beams rather than reflecting them. Elaborate. It's likely just primitive metallurgy creating interference patterns. But, Kirix paused. Wait, new energy signature detected. They're powering up something in their central compartment. Zalura straightened. Weapons? Unknown. The power curve doesn't match any known weapon profile. It's almost as if Kyrix's antennae twitched. High Commander, they're hailing us. The communication came through on basic electromagnetic frequencies, another sign of their technological inferiority. A human face appeared on the main view screen, dark-skinned and female, according to their species dimorphism. Greetings, Krylonian vessel. I am Captain Maya Santos of the human survey vessel Horizon. We come in peace and welcome cultural exchange. Zalura activated the translation matrix. I am High Commander Zalura Vek of the Krylonian Empire. Your presence has been noted in our space. Prepare for inspection and categorization. Resistance would be unfortunate. The human captain's expression remained neutral, but Zalura detected the slightest upturn at the corners of her mouth. We would be happy to comply with inspection protocols, High Commander. However, I should inform you that our vessel's design may not match your expectations. Your primitive technology is evident to our sensors, Captain Santos. The Krylonian Empire has vast experience in guiding developing species toward enlightenment. Your cooperation will make this process much smoother. Primitive is a relative term, High Commander. The human smile widened fractionally. Perhaps a demonstration would be helpful. With your permission, we'll power up our primary systems. Before Zalura could respond, Kyrix's mental voice screamed across the command network. High Commander, the hull, it's transforming. The Horizon's seemingly crude exterior began to shift, plates sliding and realigning like a puzzle solving itself. What had appeared to be structural supports flowed like liquid metal, revealing themselves as housing for technology far beyond anything the sensors had initially detected. Impossible, Kyrix whispered. The power readings, they're off our scales. As I said, Captain Santos continued calmly, appearances can be deceiving. What you initially scanned was our ship's dormant state. This is who we really are. The transformation complete, the Horizon now bristled with technology that defied Krylonian understanding. Not because it was more advanced, but because it approached space travel from a completely different philosophical direction. Where Krylonian ships were grown and cultivated, human ships were built with an elegant efficiency that bordered on art. Your scanning technology is impressive, Santos explained, but it's based on certain assumptions about how civilizations develop. We took a different path. Rather than growing our technology like you do, we learn to fold space itself. Rather than broadcasting power, we learn to whisper to quantum fields. Different approaches, neither necessarily superior. Just different. Zalara's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation in her species. You concealed your true nature. Why? High Commander, humanity has been watching the galaxy for longer than you might think. We've seen how the Krylonian Empire treats species it considers inferior. We've also seen how it treats those it fears. We chose a third option, to meet as equals. The implications hit Zalara like a gravity wave. If this single vessel could hide such technology, how many other human ships were out there? How long have they been watching, learning, preparing for this moment? A new age is coming, High Commander, Santos continued. One where species learn from each other rather than dominate or submit. The question is, will the Krylonian Empire be ready to join it? As Zalara stared at the transformed vessel before her, she realized this wasn't just first contact. This was first contact with a species that had completely rewritten the rules of technological advancement. And somehow, she suspected this was only the beginning of the surprises humanity had in store. Perhaps, she said carefully, we should continue this discussion over a more formal diplomatic channel. Santos nodded. We thought you might say that. We've taken the liberty of preparing a comprehensive cultural exchange package, including, I might add, some fascinating insights into bioorganic engineering that your scientists might find intriguing. And there it was, the hook. Not a threat, not a demonstration of superiority, but an offer of knowledge. Zalara realized that humanity hadn't just outsmarted them technologically. They'd outmaneuvered them diplomatically before the conversation even began. Send your package, Zalara said. It seems we have much to discuss. As the data transfer began, Zalara couldn't help but wonder how many other assumptions about the galaxy her civilization would have to reconsider. The age of simple uplift and conquer was over. Humanity had ensured that. The question now was, what would take its place? The diplomatic dance. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Krylonian diplomatic vessel Luminous Accord pulsed with waves of bioluminescence, reflecting the tense emotions of its occupants. 3 solar cycles had passed since the initial contact with the human vessel, and High Commander Zalara Vek found herself facing a situation unprecedented in Krylonian history, negotiating with a species that had deliberately hidden its true capabilities. Ambassador Lyrix Ven, the Empire's chief diplomat, stood before the assembled delegation, his crystalline exoskeleton refracting light in patterns that conveyed both authority and unease. The humans request a formal alliance, he announced, not as protectorates, but as equals. A ripple of colored light, the equivalent of murmuring, spread through the assembled Krylonian officials. Equals. Supreme Counselor Vex Thur's bioluminescent patterns flashed with indignation. They deceived us. Their very first interaction with our civilization was based on subterfuge. Captain Maya Santos, seated at the opposite end of the chamber with her small human delegation, remained impassive. Her neural translator perfectly conveyed the Krylonians' emotional light patterns, but she had learned the value of keeping her own emotions carefully controlled. If I may address the council, she said, rising slowly. The universal translator converted her words into both audible frequencies and light patterns the Krylonians could understand. We chose concealment not out of malice, but necessity. Our surveillance networks detected 17 separate instances where the Empire encountered developing civilizations in the past cycle alone. In 15 of those cases, the species were immediately classified as protectorates, a status that, according to your own records, has never been elevated. Zalara noticed how Santos emphasized surveillance networks, another reminder of humanity's hidden reach. The human captain continued. The remaining 2 species were deemed threats and contained. The assembly chamber's bioluminescence dimmed, the Krylonian equivalent of an uncomfortable silence. What Santos isn't saying, Zalara found herself speaking, is that humanity chose to approach us differently because they understood something we didn't. True advancement comes from exchange, not dominance. Santos nodded appreciatively. High Commander Vec understands our position. The technology we revealed on the horizon represents only a fraction of our capabilities. But more importantly, it represents a fundamentally different approach to scientific advancement. She gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, without any visible projectors. The Krylonian scientists present shifted uncomfortably, their patterns showing both fascination and concern at this casual display of technological sophistication. Your bioorganic technology is remarkable, Santos continued. The way you've developed living ships, neural interfaces, bioluminescent communication, it's an evolutionary marvel. But you've become so focused on one path of advancement that you've overlooked countless others. The hologram shifted, showing the horizon's transformation sequence. Where you grow your technology, we learn to make materials that can rewrite their own atomic structure. Where you develop neural networks, we explored quantum entanglement. Different paths, different solutions, both valid. Supreme Counselor Vexthur's patterns showed skepticism, and yet you hide these achievements. How many other human ships lurk in our space, concealing their true nature? Santos smiled, a gesture the Krylonians had learned could mean many things. That's not the question you should be asking, Counselor. The question is, how many other species have you dismissed as primitive simply because they developed along different lines than your own? The chamber erupted in patterns of agitation and debate. Zilara watched as Santos stood calmly in the chaos and suddenly understood humanity's true strategy. They hadn't just hidden their advancement. They had orchestrated this entire revelation to force the Empire to confront its own prejudices. Ambassador Lyrixben raised his appendages for silence. Captain Santos, your point is uncomfortably well made, but trust must be earned. How can we be certain humanity won't use its hidden capabilities against us? Because we're showing you now, Santos replied simply. We've had the capability to challenge the Empire for decades. Instead, we're here, offering partnership. Our scientists have already prepared detailed proposals for technological exchange programs. Your bioorganic engineering combined with our quantum mechanics could revolutionize both our civilizations. She paused, letting that sink in. But first, the Empire needs to recognize that true strength lies in diversity, of thought, of approach, of evolution itself. The galaxy is too vast for any one path to be the right path. Zilara found herself moving forward. The human delegation speaks truth. I've reviewed their cultural exchange package. Their history is filled with examples of different approaches combining to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Perhaps, she hesitated, then continued, perhaps it's time for the Empire to evolve as well. The chamber's bioluminescence shifted through complex patterns as the assembled officials processed this radical proposal. The Empire had always been the teacher, the guide, the superior force. The idea of becoming students themselves was almost incomprehensible. Almost. We will need time to consider these matters, Supreme Counselor Vexthar announced finally. But his patterns showed reluctant acknowledgement. We cannot ignore the possibility such an alliance might offer. Santos nodded. Take all the time you need. We've waited decades to reveal ourselves. We can wait a little longer for the right partnership to form. Her smile returned. After all, the best transformations can't be rushed. As the session adjourned, Zilara approached Santos privately. You orchestrated all of this, didn't you? From the first moment of contact, this was your plan. Not just mine, Santos replied. Humanity learned long ago that the best way to change minds isn't through force or fear, but through demonstration and opportunity. We didn't want to conquer the Empire, High Commander. We wanted to help it grow. Zilara's patterns showed understanding, by forcing us to confront our own limitations. Exactly. The question now is, are you ready to learn as well as teach? Looking at the departing Krylonian officials, their patterns showing confusion, curiosity, and, most importantly, possibility. Solara knew the answer. The Empire would never be the same. And perhaps that was exactly what it needed. Technology unveiled. No one saw the raiders coming. The Krylonian separatist faction struck the joint human-Krylonian research station Convergence during its night cycle, their ships running dark, broadcasting falsified Empire credentials. They expected an easy target. After all, how dangerous could a simple research station be? They were about to learn the same lesson the Empire had. Appearances can be deceiving. Dr. Elena Chen was in the quantum mechanics lab when the first blast hit. The station's outer shell, deliberately designed to look like standard Krylonian architecture, absorbed the impact without a tremor. Her Krylonian research partner, senior scientist Kixnar, immediately began pulsing warning patterns. Separatist attack signatures, Kex's translator conveyed. They're using modified Imperial weaponry. Elena didn't look up from her console. How many ships? 7. Heavy cruiser configuration. Kix's patterns showed concern. The station's defensive capabilities are exactly what we wanted them to think they were. Elena finished, finally looking up with a slight smile. Initiate protocol revelation. Throughout the station, hidden systems began to wake. What appeared to be decorative wall panels shifted, revealing sophisticated quantum field generators. The station's seemingly basic sensor array transformed, unfurling like a blooming flower to expose a web of advanced detection equipment. The Raiders' commander, a disgraced former Imperial captain named Vrax Torn, watched with growing unease as his tactical display updated. What are these readings? The station's power signature is changing. Sir, his science officer reported, patterns showing confusion. I'm detecting quantum field fluctuations. The station's structural composition is literally rewriting itself at the atomic level. Elena's voice came across all channels, calm and precise. Attention, separatist vessels. This is Dr. Elena Chen of the Convergence Research Station. Your attack has triggered our defensive protocols. I advise immediate withdrawal. Vrax's mandibles clicked in amusement. A human scientist threatens us. Fire main batteries. Show them the might of true Krylonian power. The Raiders' ships launched a devastating barrage of plasma torpedoes and quantum disruptors. They expected to see the station's outer shell crack and burn. Instead, something extraordinary happened. The incoming fire simply disappeared. Impossible. Vrax's tactical officer exclaimed. The weapons, they're gone. No detonation, no energy dispersion, just gone. Elena's voice returned, now with a hint of professional satisfaction. What you just witnessed is the practical application of our latest joint research project. We call it the Quantum Sync Defense System. Rather than trying to stop your attacks, we simply redirected them. Would you like to know where? As if in answer, every power system on the Raider ships suddenly surged. Auxiliary generators screamed as they tried to handle the massive energy influx. Your own weapon's energy, Elena explained, redirected through quantum tunneling directly into your ship's power grids. Quite elegant, really. A combination of human quantum mechanics and Krylonian energy manipulation. Though I should warn you, your systems weren't designed to handle this much feedback. Warning alerts blared across the Raider fleet as systems began to overload. Vrax watched in horror as his mighty warships were effectively defeated by their own energy, turned against them through physics he barely understood. Still, Elena continued, we'd rather not destroy you. Surrender now, and we can discuss this like civilized beings. Perhaps even explain the scientific principles involved, if you're interested. Before Vrax could respond, a new signal cut across all frequencies. High Commander Zalarevek's personal flagship dropped out of quantum space, its bioorganic hull gleaming with power. Separatist vessels, you have attacked a protected research installation and violated multiple Imperial laws. Zalara's voice carried authority and disgust in equal measure. Stand down immediately. Vrax, watching his ship's systems cascade toward critical failure, had no choice. We surrender. Hours later, as Imperial security forces processed the raiders, Alina led Zilara and a group of wide-eyed Imperial scientists through the station's now-revealed laboratories. The quantum sink is just the beginning, Alina explained, her excitement evident as she gestured to various experiments. By combining your bioorganic engineering with our quantum manipulation, we're opening up entirely new fields of study. Imagine ships that don't just adapt but evolve in real time, healing systems that work at the quantum level, communication networks that exist outside normal space-time. Zalara's patterns showed amazement. All this from cooperation between our species. Exactly, Alina nodded. The raiders actually did us a favor. They proved that our combined technologies are more powerful than either of us could achieve alone. Their attack forced us to demonstrate what true collaboration can achieve. And this is just one research station, Zilara mused, her patterns thoughtful. How many other discoveries await us if we fully commit to this partnership? Alina's smile widened. That's the beauty of science, High Commander. The possibilities are endless. We just have to be willing to explore them together. As they continued the tour, Zilara noticed how the human and Krylonian scientists worked seamlessly together, their different approaches to problem-solving creating solutions neither species would have conceived alone. The raiders had sought to destroy this cooperation, but they had only succeeded in proving its worth. The age of separation was ending. The age of synthesis had begun. Cultural exchange. The Great Hall of Learning on Krylonia Prime had never seen anything quite like this, where once only the crystalline forms of Krylonian scholars had moved through its ancient corridors. Now humans walked alongside them, their presence a living testament to how much had changed in just one stellar cycle. Junior scholar Vix Wren watched the latest group of human students enter his skenobiology class, their expressions showing that uniquely human mixture of curiosity and determination. His bioluminescent patterns shifted unconsciously to show welcome, a gesture he picked up from spending too much time with his human colleagues. Today, he announced, his translator working seamlessly, we will discuss something unprecedented in Krylonian history, the concept of parallel evolution. The holographic display activated, showing two distinct technological paths, the traditional Krylonian bioorganic development and the human quantum mechanical approach. Among his students, both human and Krylonian patterns showed intense interest. Sarah Chen, you have a question. Vix noticed the human student's raised hand, another custom he'd grown to appreciate. Yes, Professor. I've been studying the Empire's historical records, and I noticed something interesting. Before first contact with humanity, there's no record of the Empire ever considering alternative technological paths as valid. Was this a cultural blind spot, or a deliberate policy? The question would have been considered heretical just a cycle ago. Now, it sparked a cascade of colored patterns among the Krylonian students, their equivalent of enthusiastic debate. An excellent observation, Vix replied. In fact, this leads perfectly into today's core lesson. Would Assistant Professor Helena Martinez care to join me? Helena, one of the first human scientists to accept a teaching position on Krylonia Prime, stepped forward. Her dark eyes sparkled with the same enthusiasm Vix felt. They had been working together for almost a full cycle now, and their collaborative teaching style had become somewhat famous among the students. Thank you, Professor Wren, Helena said, adjusting the environmental field around her. Another example of human Krylonian technology working in harmony. What we're really discussing here isn't just technological development, but the philosophy of progress itself. The display shifted, showing the convergence of human and Krylonian research projects. The Empire believed in a linear path of advancement. Bioorganic technology represented the peak of this path, and all other approaches were seen as primitive steps toward this enlightened state. Of you, Vix added, his patterns showing scholarly amusement. That humanity rather thoroughly disproved. The class rippled with patterns of agreement and amusement. Several human students grinned, a gesture that had initially confused Krylonians but was now widely understood. But the real breakthrough, Helena continued, wasn't just technological. It was philosophical. Humans didn't just show the Empire a different way of building ships or generating energy. We showed them a different way of thinking about progress itself. The display now showed the Convergence Research Station. Consider the recent separatist attack. The station's defense systems weren't superior to Krylonian technology. They were different, approaching the problem from an angle the Empire had never considered. This is the true power of diversity in thought and approach. A Krylonian student's patterns shifted to show curiosity. But surely some paths of development are objectively better than others. Are they? Vix challenged. Consider this. Human quantum mechanics and Krylonian bioorganic engineering were both considered the peak of advancement by their respective societies. Yet when combined, they created something greater than either could achieve alone. Helena finished. The quantum sync defense system isn't human technology or Krylonian technology. It's something entirely new. A true synthesis. The discussion continued, growing more animated as students from both species engaged with ideas that challenged their fundamental assumptions about progress, civilization, and cooperation. Vix watched with satisfaction as humans and Krylonians debated together, their different perspectives creating a dynamic he had never seen in his centuries of teaching. After class, Helena joined Vix in his office, their routine debrief session having become one of his favorite parts of the day. "They're getting it," she said, accepting a cup of synthesized human coffee, another small symbol of their growing cultural exchange. Really getting it. Not just the technology, but the underlying principles. Vix's patterns showed agreement, the younger generation especially. They don't see barriers between human and Krylonian approaches. They see opportunities for synthesis. It's not just in academia either, Helena noted. Have you seen the latest cultural developments? Human art incorporating Krylonian bioluminescence, Krylonian architecture adopting human geometric principles. The exchange is happening at every level. And yet, Vix's patterns shifted to show concern. There are still those who resist. The separatist attack wasn't an isolated incident. Helena nodded thoughtfully. Change is never easy, especially for a civilization as old as the Empire. But look at what we've accomplished in just one cycle. The Empire is evolving, not because it was forced to, but because it's choosing to. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson humanity taught us, Vix mused. Not that change is necessary, but that it's possible. That there's always another way to look at a problem, another path to explore. As long as we're willing to explore it together, Helena added with a smile. Outside the office window, the spires of the Great Hall of Learning rose into Krylonia Prime's violet sky, their traditional bioorganic architecture now seamlessly integrated with human-inspired quantum field generators. It was, Vix reflected, a perfect symbol of what their civilizations were becoming. Not human, not Krylonian, but something new and wonderful. The true cultural exchange wasn't just in sharing technology or knowledge. It was in learning to see the universe through each other's eyes, and in doing so, discovering entirely new ways of seeing. A new era, the observation deck of the Unity. The first truly joint human Krylonian vessel offered a spectacular view of the galactic core. Captain Maya Santos stood beside High Commander Zilara Vec, both leaders watching as their combined fleet prepared for its historic mission. The Unity itself was a testament to what their civilizations had achieved together. Its bioorganic hull pulsed with quantum-enhanced bioluminescence, while its hybrid drive systems allowed it to navigate both normal space and the quantum realm with equal ease. It wasn't just a ship, it was a statement about what was possible when different paths of advancement converged. 10 cycles ago, Zalara's patterns rippled with reflection. I would have called this impossible. A human commanding alongside a Krylonian, on a ship that combines both our technologies, leading a joint expedition to contact new civilizations. Maya smiled. And now? Now I wonder what else we thought was impossible simply because we never considered a different approach. Their conversation was interrupted by a signal from the bridge. Captain, High Commander, the voice of their Joint Science Officer, Dr. Kara Patel-Venn, came through. Long-range sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures from the Carina sector. They don't match any known pattern, human or Krylonian. New people to meet, Maya said, sharing a knowing look with Zalara. Shall we do this differently than either of our species would have in the past? The fleet they commanded represented something unprecedented in galactic history. Ships of human design flew alongside Krylonian vessels, while hybrid crafts like the Unity demonstrated what was possible when both technologies were fully integrated. But more importantly, they carried a new philosophy. Initiative First Contact is ready to proceed, Zalara announced as they entered the bridge. The command center was itself a marvel of integration. Bioorganic interfaces working in perfect harmony with quantum field displays, crewed by both humans and Krylonians working as one. Dr. Patel-Venn, her human features contrasting with the subtle Krylonian bioluminescent patterns she had adopted through genetic therapy, looked up from her station. The energy signatures suggest a civilization that's taken a completely different developmental path than either of ours. Their technology appears to be based on gravitational manipulation. Fascinating, Maya commented. A third path we never considered, which makes them perfect for first contact protocol synthesis, Zalara added, her patterns showing excitement. The new protocol was perhaps their greatest achievement, a completely new approach to meeting other civilizations. Gone were the days of empire, uplift, or human hidden observation. Instead, they had developed a method based on mutual learning and respect. All ships assume formation Delta, Maya ordered. Remember, we're not here to judge their development or to hide our capabilities. We're here to learn and to share. She paused, looking at the main view screen where the first hints of artificial structures were becoming visible. We're here to grow together. The fleet moved forward in perfect coordination, a display of unity that would have seemed impossible just 10 cycles ago. As they approached the unknown civilization's space, Maya reflected on how far they had come. The separatist attack on Convergence Station had become a watershed moment in their shared history, not because of the technology revealed, but because of what happened afterward. The incident had sparked a revolution in thinking throughout both societies. Scientists, engineers, and philosophers from both species have begun to ask not just, how do we do this, but how many ways are there to do this? Energy patterns from the unknown civilization are shifting, Dr. Patel-Venn reported. They've detected us. Their responses appear curious rather than defensive. A good sign, Zalara noted. Initiate first contact protocols. Let's show them who we really are. All of us. The Unity's communication array activated, broadcasting in multiple formats simultaneously, another innovation born of their cooperation. The message they sent was simple but profound. We come seeking knowledge and offering friendship. We are the United Human Krylonian Expedition, and we believe that every civilization has something to teach and something to learn. As they waited for a response, Maya looked around the bridge. Humans and Krylonians worked side by side, their differences no longer barriers but strengths. The quantum-enhanced displays merged seamlessly with bioorganic interfaces. Even the air they breathed was maintained by a hybrid life support system that represented the best of both worlds. Response incoming, announced the communications officer, a young Krylonian whose patterns showed the calm confidence of the new generation. They're responding in multiple formats, matching our approach. Well, Maya said, sharing another look with Zalara, it seems they already understand one of the most important lessons we've learned. There's always more than one way to communicate. As the first images of the new civilization appeared on their screens, showing structures and technology unlike anything either species had seen before, Zalara's patterns shifted to show wonder. Every new civilization we meet has the potential to add another path to our understanding, another way of seeing the universe. That's the real revolution, isn't it? Maya replied. Not the technology we've created together, but the understanding that no single path leads to all answers. The universe is too vast, too complex for any one approach to be sufficient. The bridge crew watched as the first clear transmission from the new civilization came through. Strange, beautiful patterns of gravitational waves that their hybrid sensors translated into both human language and Krylonian light patterns. The message was simple but profound. We welcome those who seek to learn. Maya and Zalara shared one final look before responding. They had come so far from that first encounter, when a supposedly primitive human ship revealed itself to a supposedly superior empire. Now they stood together, ready to meet new friends not as teachers or students, but as fellow explorers on the infinite paths of discovery. The new era wasn't just about technological advancement or cultural exchange. It was about understanding that true progress comes not from following a single path to its end, but from discovering how many paths there are to explore, and having the wisdom to walk them together. Send our response, they ordered in unison. We're ready to begin.